Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aligning with Purpose, a podcast where we explore themes of finding your true purpose, from quitting corporate, moving cities, practicing holistic health, and more. Join me as we discover our purposes together. My name is Julie Oshinaga, and I'm so happy you're here. Today, I'll be talking about the hidden chemicals and toxins in our everyday foods and products that we're using. And in the United States, this is an extremely big issue because there are tons of things that are hidden from us, and we are constantly being fed terrible foods, and we're using things that have a lot of chemicals that are bad for us that are unfortunately approved by the government that is supposed to be protecting us. Although it is not our fault that we don't have the proper education to support us while we're living in this country, we have to be vigilant about all the things that we're consuming and using because no one else is going to protect us more than we do for ourselves. So let's talk more about this because this is a big issue, and I think we need to shed more light on this. Let's get right into it. So for this week's Beauty and Humanity, I got off the station at Union Square and I noticed this street performer who was singing with a very large crowd. Union Square is already pretty fascinating to me. It has so much life and a diversity of life. There are people who are always performing, there are many vendors, and there are also people playing chess who are inviting people to play one-on-one with them. And I always pass by with a lot of appreciation for humanity. This day was no different as I was walking through Union Square, but I felt extremely present watching this street performer sing as he had a very large crowd who was very enamored by his performance and videotaping his singing. There was something just so human about this experience, about a lot of people who probably have very different walks of life coming and connecting and seeing the beauty in the music that he was singing. It just made me smile to know that there is so much connecting us together, regardless of if we realize it or not. Moments like this really make me grateful to be able to live in a city where there's so much life and a lot happening all at once. Of course, chaotic at times, but I really feel human in New York City. I hope you're able to take one moment from your day or at the minimum during the week to really see and appreciate the beauty and humanity that is around us, even in the small moments, because those are the ones that really make us feel present and appreciate that we get to experience this all together. I also hope they all tipped him, especially the ones that were recording him. There are many chemicals and hidden toxins in the everyday products we use, and a lot of which we just don't have the awareness in because we just don't know about them. There are new ones that are coming out all the time, and those can include things like additives, preservatives, flavorings, and components that come from the packaging itself. Today, I want to take the time to talk about some of those hidden chemicals and toxins, as there are so many. So just giving a brief overview about some of the ones that we could be encountering on a daily basis. Then I want to go into the larger implications that these chemicals have and what I'm doing to help protect myself. Of course, this is not bulletproof because if you're living in the United States, there's just no escaping hidden chemicals and toxins because a lot of it is just not shared with us, and there are new things coming out every day, and it really does feel like they're trying to keep us sick. But regardless of that, I want to share what I'm doing to protect myself as much as I can. So first, I'll start off with food and talk about some of the hidden chemicals and toxins in the food category, and then go on to talking about the daily products that we use. Hidden chemicals in food often refers to the additives and preservatives and contaminants that may be listed under general terms, or that are just present due to the processing and packaging of that product. So let's talk about a few of those. Number one is going to be artificial sweeteners, and those can look like aspartame, sucralose, acesulfame K, and these are used in many sugar-free products like Diet Coke, sugar-free, healthy candy, and these pose a lot of risks. Studies link them to health concerns like metabolic issues or neurological effects. And since this is a fake sugar, I also see studies that these can be carcinogens. The next one is artificial colors, and these look like red 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6. A lot of these are still used in a lot of food that we're using, and I just simply don't understand why we use it. Because if we got used to the natural color of things, then we wouldn't even think that anything is wrong with the coloring itself. So why do we add this color when it's such an unnecessary ingredient? Regardless of that, this is obviously used to enhance the color and enhance the appearance. And it's linked to hyperactivity in children, and it's also a carcinogen. And these toxic artificial colors are banned in a lot of countries in Europe, in Asia, but unfortunately, these are still used in the US. The next ones are BHA and BHT. I'm not going to pronounce the full scientific name because it is a very long name, but these are chemical cousins, and these are used in a lot of cured meats, cereals, and also a lot of processed snacks. These are also known carcinogens and very harmful to humans, used in a lot of products. The next category is going to be preservatives, and this is used in a lot of American products. And the first one in this category is sodium benzoate. And this is a preservative when combined with vitamin C, ascorbic acid, in beverages or dressings. This can form something called benzene, which is a known carcinogen. Number 2 is potassium bromate, and this is added to a lot of flours, baked goods, and these are, hint, carcinogens. And the last one that I'm going to mention in the preservative category is sodium nitrite or nitrate, and this is used in a lot of processed meats, deli meats as well, and this is to preserve the color and to prevent bacterial growth. This can also form something called nitrosamines, and this also is a carcinogen. The next category in food is going to be flavor enhancers. And on labels, this can look like artificial flavor or natural flavors. And this is just a very vague term. This can hide the complex mixture of chemical ingredients that manufacturers don't have to disclose to people that are consuming it. And it is highly problematic. Last but not least, in food, there are so many contaminants that can be touching or included in the daily foods that you're eating. For example, heavy metals. There can be arsenic, lead, cadmium, mercury, and these can be found in our foods like rice, baby foods, fish, spices, and this can be caused due to pollution, packaging, and processing. Obviously, all of these are extremely problematic, and they are unfortunately in the daily foods that we're eating. And if you've noticed a pattern, you can see that most of these are carcinogens, and they are linked to cancer. Moving on to everyday products. In our everyday products, like our toothpaste, our lotions, our soaps, whatever it may be, they include a lot of chemicals, and these are absorbed in our skin. They can be inhaled or ingested, and a lot of them are also very harmful to us as humans. So to give a few examples, let's go through some of the toxic chemicals that are used in everyday products. And the first one's going to be phthalates. These are used to make plastic more flexible, like vinyl flooring, and they're also used as solvents and binding agents in cosmetics, fragrances, and personal care products like shampoos and nail polish. These are known endocrine disruptors, and that means that they can interfere with your hormone systems. Number 2, fragrance on labels. These can hide chemicals and can be extremely problematic. Number 3, parabens. These are used as preservatives in cosmetics, lotions, and food, and these are also known endocrine disruptors. Next are bisphenols like BPA and BPS. These are found in plastics like water bottles, food storage, and the lining of metal cans. These can leak into your food and also be endocrine disruptors. The last chemical that I'm going to share in the daily product section is PFAS. And these are forever chemicals used to make products resistant to grease, water, and stains. They're found in a lot of nonstick cookware like Teflon, water repellent clothing, and some food packaging. These are widely known to cause cancer and also other health issues. This list that I shared is only a fraction of all the chemicals that we are ingesting and using on a daily basis. And it can be really discouraging that we just can't escape it. And even if we're trying to make healthy and good decisions for our lives, Sometimes you find out that it wasn't a healthy option because of all the chemicals that were in the products that we're using. Living in the US, buying food from grocery stores, restaurants, everyday shops, it's just virtually impossible to escape, and every single thing that we touch is pretty much processed. However, I'm learning that there are steps that we can take to protect ourselves. It's obviously not going to be bulletproof because there are so many hidden chemicals, but it's the effort that counts. And even making a 1% difference in our lives to be healthier and to make sure that we are aware of the things that we're taking in, it does make a positive impact on your body. Minimizing the bad things that we ingest or absorb onto our skin, that will really make a difference instead of blindly taking things off the shelf, because that just doesn't do anyone good, especially after learning and understanding that they aren't here to help keep us healthy. If the system doesn't want to educate us, then let's stay vigilant together. It's not uncool to be healthy, and we need to stop that narrative because I am so tired of hearing that narrative. If we're pointing out how healthy someone is, we need to start taking a look at ourselves and ask ourselves why we're thinking that or making those comments, because those thoughts that we're having about others and their healthiness, that is a mirror of your subconscious and how you feel about yourself. The amount of times I've gotten a comment when I ordered a salad with chicken breast, or I'm ordering brown rice instead of white rice, and the weird looks that I've gotten just because I chose an alternative to quote unquote the unhealthier food, that needs to stop. But it's time for us to be more aware and to understand that being healthy is actually in. It should be the norm for us to want to be healthy because it's important for us to take agency of our own lives, of our own bodies, of our own health, and not let the government determine that for us. Because the more we blindly accept the things that they're giving us, what say do you have for your health when you're ingesting all these toxic chemicals? I do understand that there are so many bad things that I don't even know that I'm taking in, but it's the awareness that counts. And we need to stop pitting ourselves against each other and pointing out how healthy someone is and pointing out the decision that they made on the type of rice that they got or the type of entree that they decided to order for dinner, because we need to all take responsibility for our own health, not compare it with anyone else, and just stay in our own lanes to make sure that we are making the best decisions for ourselves. And I'm going to emphasize that you should care because your body is important. Your health is important. So you should treat it as such because you are an important person yourself. You should care because you are the sole decider of your own body and not the government. The government shouldn't be making decisions on your body or your health. And even though we can't fully escape it, we should care about the hidden things that are in foods so we can take care of ourselves better because we care about ourselves. So, I want to share a little bit about what I'm doing to live a healthier life and to make sure that I have more agency over my own body. I am all about balance. And although I mentioned being very aware of the hidden chemicals, sometimes you do have to feed your soul as much as you're feeding your body. And balance is extremely important because it is okay to indulge in the occasional fast food or foods that you know that have bad chemicals. It might sound very contradictory to what I just said, but if you're going to the 100% mark and you're always avoiding it, you don't want to detract from your process and then one day completely stop all the great work you were doing. If you have to live with balance and incorporate some bad things here and there and try to live healthier on majority of the days, you should pat yourself on the back because you're doing the best you can, and I completely believe in balance. For example, for my life, I meal prep for majority of my meals. I want to say that I'm meal prepping around 80% of the meals that I'm eating on a weekly basis, so I know exactly what goes into my body, the types of oils that I'm using, non-seed oils, and the types of meat and vegetables that I'm using, organic, whatever that may be, I know exactly what's going into my body. So because 80% of the food that I'm putting into my body is stuff that I know, I allow myself with the 20% to dine in, eat with friends, or occasionally go for that junk food because we can't always be on and perfect. So might as well live in balance and to feed our soul sometimes. The occasional bad foods aren't going to kill us. It's just about the intention that's extremely important. So it's not about being perfect. We need to be very sustainable with our efforts. Awareness is step number 1, and implementing it the best way you can is step number 2. So don't be hard on yourself if you can't eat completely healthy. I think it's really just about the effort that you put in and making sure that you're not judging yourself too hard. It is your health journey, and we just have to compare ourselves to the last version of ourselves and not to no one else, and not to project your own health onto other people as well. There's obviously no way to fully escape hidden chemicals and toxins because it is fully mixed into the everyday things that we're using. But I do want to share some tips on how to reduce exposure so we can work on reducing it together and what I'm doing. So like I mentioned, number 1 is meal prepping. I meal prep with whole foods so I can make sure I know what I'm taking in. I do try to avoid seed oils, foods with additives, and foods with dyes. I do try to buy organic, and choosing whole foods is very key. When you eat out, you don't know the full story of what they're using, and they could be using anything from seed oils, heating up their hot water to make tea in plastic containers, using additives, food dyes. You just don't know what they're using. So I try to limit eating out as much as I can. But when you do meal prep, try to use whole foods as much as possible. And if you can, I would choose organic as well because it does limit your pesticide exposure. The second thing I do is read and scan labels. There are a ton of apps out there now that scan barcodes and they tell you exactly what ingredients are in that product and they rate them. So I use the app called Yucca, and there are so many other apps out there, so please use what is best for you. But with Yucca, I am able to scan a label and it gives me a health score. I do take it with a grain of salt because I am only scanning to check what additives are in the foods. So if there are very toxic chemicals in there that are banned in Europe or in Asia, then I'll know that I shouldn't be getting this product. What's good about Yucca is that they'll give you alternatives that you could buy that have less additives. But if Yucca is giving me a low score because of the amount of fat or sugar that is in a product, I tend to not listen to that as much because if I do want to buy that product, then I could just consume less of it. So I know that I'm not going overboard in the amount of sugar that I'm intaking. You can use apps to scan, or you can start reading and learning the basics yourselves and seeing what chemicals you want to avoid when you do look at the ingredients list on a product. Number 3 is use better storage. So I used to use a lot of plastic containers when I meal prepped, but I quickly learned that that is pretty unhealthy because plastic can leak into your foods even after you store them. And I didn't want any of those plastic toxins to be seeping into my food, especially if you pack it up when it's still hot. That's even worse. So I would highly recommend using glass as opposed to plastic when you're storing your food. Last but not least, I filter my water. And you might not be able to taste the difference in your water. However, it goes beyond the taste. When you filter your water, you are also filtering out the heavy metals, the toxins that don't have any flavor. And by filtering your water, no matter how safe a water source is, you are just reducing your chance overall to take in potentially contaminated water. After I moved to New York, everyone says New York's finest in reference to the water because it's supposedly very clean and very healthy water. However, that may be true, but you just never know the full picture. Are they saying that because that has just become sort of like a slogan now, or are they saying that because it's true? You just never know what's true, and I do like to make sure I practice discernment and make sure that I am not just taking anyone's word. So I still filter my water and I try to drink filtered water as much as possible. Of course, if I'm going to a restaurant, I'll drink the occasional tap water. But if I can protect myself, like at home or when I have the means to, I will definitely choose the healthier option to make sure that I'm setting my body up for success. At the end of the day, our bodies are very important and we need our health to accomplish anything that we want to in life. So might as well take care of your body because taking care of our body is a form of self-care and love, and you deserve to be pouring in that much into your body and health. If there are more tips that you have that I am currently not implementing or that I haven't mentioned, please let me know. I am always open to talking about health and implementing different things and learning more from other people and other sources. So if you have anything that you want to add on, please let me know. Comment down below on the podcast episode, and looking forward to being on this health journey with all of you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you at the next one. Thank you so much for spending time with me on Aligning with Purpose. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast episode, and don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast so you never miss an episode. And be sure to connect with me on Instagram and TikTok at aligningwithpurpose.pod and at Julioshi, JULIYOSHI. If you enjoyed today's podcast episode, please leave me a rating and review. Your support truly means the world, and catch you at the next one.